So I remember watching that Club Shay Shay interview, right? And I raised my eyebrows. I remember raising my eyebrows when Monique mentioned her first son, Shalon. Now, in the interview, Monique was essentially saying when you're grinding, trying to make it in Hollywood, that nurturing stuff wasn't there. She said, with these new set of kids, she said, I'm a different mom. So when she kind of brushed over the topic, I don't know. In the interview, it felt like she was saying, well, I did all I could with Shalon, my first son, whatever it is, what it is. We'll see how things play out. She didn't really go into a lot of detail, and of course, it's family stuff, so maybe you don't want to go. But it's just like you were going into detail, specific detail about everything else. So this made me side-eye hard when I saw it. And my suspicions were kind of confirmed when I got wind of what the son was saying and how he responded. And Monique's response, Monique sitting down with Sydney, oh my God, responding to what he said. It was a mess, and I want to talk about that as well. And to me, it's just like, Monique, you trying to call out Tyler Perry and Oprah for dodging accountability, and they should be called out, right? But it's just like, girl, this shit just going on with you. It's not looking cute. What's the Okay, so let's talk about what Shalon said in his TikTok. Responding to the Club Shay Shay thing where he was brought up, right? Where Monique was bringing him up, talking about their relationship. So Shalon said he wanted to clear up this idea that Monique is praying to the universe to reconcile their relationship. He said, my mother and I both know that's a false narrative. Neither one of us cares enough to put forth the effort to reconcile. Now, he said, we're separate because she doesn't care to be my mother any more than I care to be her son. He said, speaking with my mother directly will either lead to some odd newfound clarity in regards to how she was as my mother, or she retreats back to daddy to move forward with the conversation. Now, this was a very interesting sting here because Monique really weirds me out anytime she talks about her husband, to be honest. And y'all can say what y'all want to say, but to me, it's given very weird. Remember, she said this some time back. She said, my husband, my best friend, my brother, he's had all these hats. And a lot of black women would say, why do you call him daddy? Because he's raising me. He's raising me. It was my husband that grew me up, and even at 55 years old, there are still times where he has to say, come on, let's talk, and I'm grateful for that. And it's just like, okay, but some of the things, it just feels very weird. It feels very weird talking about he raised me. And I know that, she's not the only person to say that kind of shit. But it's just like, it always will rub me the wrong way when y'all the same age, y'all supposed to be romantic partners, and you talk about one person raising the other. It feels very weird. Obviously, it feels weird to Shalon as well, because he kept whacking her with that daddy shit. Like he was whacking Monique with that daddy shit. Now back to what he was saying. He said, standing in this, I love this quote here. Standing in your truth doesn't make you noble. And I think he's right. It doesn't inherently make you noble to be like, okay, these are the things I did. And it's just like, okay, so what's coming after that? Nothing? Like, it doesn't inherently make you noble to be like, okay, yes, I did some crazy, nasty, horrible shit, bitch. And it's like, okay, is there another, is that sentence going to continue on or not, girl? It's like, okay, so you stood in your truth. You said what you did. Now, what are you going to do about it, right? He said, many people may ask, why speak up now? And I really liked his response because he was like, when her daddy, like when Monique's husband, when her daddy was over there talking about Monique having 3 sons, when she's on the internet right now talking about the 4th one, obviously him, in a video that has now millions of views, that rubbed me the wrong way. And honestly, yeah, I'd be annoyed too. Like, girl, let me say my piece since y'all trying to act like I don't exist, but at the same time acting like we're on some road to reconciliation when we're not. There were a lot of people who really had an issue with Shalon bringing this to the public eye, but it's just like, I don't see anything wrong with that because Monique went on there in front of millions of people, right? Like the video has millions of views and brought up the relationship with her son. So it's just like, if he feels like he wants to respond publicly, I don't see anything wrong with that. That's y'all problem, is y'all do the dirt behind closed doors. Y'all fuck over y'all flesh and blood, and you expect simply because you they mama, you they daddy, you they whatever, you they whatever random authority fucking figure y'all want to plug in, that they supposed to sit there and fucking take that shit when you in the public talking about it. So he's like, bitch, if you want to talk about it, let's talk about it. Let's talk about it. He said, to inform a child that you are not interested, or you're not interested in being a mother at a time when you're the only kid there, right, will make it seem like you aren't interested in, the mother is not interested in that child specifically. Now listen to what he says here about Monique and her, avoidance of accountability.
You also admit, my mother had also admitted to me that she didn't do the best job that she could do, which would also make one begin to question, all of your past decisions and prior emotional interactions. But to be completely honest and fair, those were things that I was willing to get over. Nobody's perfect, we're all human. But my mother showed a clear lack of humility, compassion, and consideration when taking any level of accountability for those things.
Like, very, very big yikes here. He said, clear lack of humility, compassion, and consideration when taking any level of accountability for certain things. And I feel like if you have a parent like this, you will have watched Shalon's video and been like, girl, exactly. Just feeling everything that he said on a, transcendent telepathic level. He said that Monique's neglect became easier to hide or validate when she had her kids with her current husband. He said she had daddy's kids. That's what he said. With her current husband, obviously, because, you got new kids, got a young, 2 young boys, whatever. It's just like, well, I got to worry about them. So he said it became easier to hide or validate. He said, to this very day, my mother has never expressed when, if ever, she became interested in me as her son. He said in an interview, she also states that she gave an apology, but an apology to a son from a mother that constantly shows no interest in him shows no weight. It holds no weight, is what he said. There are women to this day that my mother will give credit to for being more of a mother to me than she ever could. He said my mother would say that she was there whenever, like, basically she would say that I'm gonna be here for you. I'm here whenever you get ready, like whenever you ready. And he said that ideology blows my mind, because as the parent, you're supposed to come to me in all this shit. And he's right, because listen, he says, how could you admit to being an uninterested, not put my best foot forward kind of parent, and then be so self-centered that, you express to the kid that you got to come to me to make this right? Listen, he was preaching this entire TikTok, okay? He said, what has my mother shown me now or in the past? That's not money. And this is a key point, because we're going to be discussing this when we talk about Monique's response to this shit, right? So he said, what has my mother shown me now or in the past, whatever? That's not money that would make me want to come to her, or whatever those things are supposed to be. I love my mother very much, but my mother loved things more than she loved me. She would validate her so-called love for me, right, by giving me things and then calling me ungrateful or inconsiderate if said things did not have the desired effect. He said, I learned how not to love from my mother. I learned also never to lose so much of who I am that I need another person like that, like daddy, like a daddy, for validation, right? So let's not lose any momentum and keep it going into, let's talk about Monique's response to this, right? And then we can chit chat about this entire thing after, right? So now, instead of picking up the goddamn phone and calling her son, right? Like she gonna sit down on social media with her husband to address what Shalon has said. Now, to me, none of this shit should have been in the public like this. Like I said, I don't think that there's anything wrong with her son responding publicly to comments that were made about him publicly. I don't think that there's anything wrong with that. But after that, it's just like, Monique, this should have been a phone call, should have been a text, it should have been something, right? Now, if you were going to do this performative shit, at least do it by yourself, in my opinion, Monique, right? Like, why do you have this man sitting in here when that man is not Shalon's dad? Like, it gets very weird already, and I ain't even start the video yet. Like, I didn't even start talking about this shit yet. Now, she said, for those of you, Monique said this, for those of you who say I should be ashamed of my mothering skills, let's just watch this play out. Y'all said I was crazy. She was like, y'all said I was crazy with this Tyler Perry and Oprah thing and this, you know what I mean? Me calling out my experience in the industry. Y'all said I was crazy. So let's watch this situation play out. Almost like implying that, well, I'm not the crazy one, but my son is. It's like, y'all think that I'm wilding out, but my son is the one wilding out. And in my head, I'm just like, who watching what play out? Why are we in it? Why are we in it? I can understand, like I said, Shalon responding publicly to, a Club Shay Shay, a public ass Club Shay Shay interview where his name was brought up in front of millions of people. But why are you responding publicly, talking about, let's see how things play out in front of a bunch of strangers who aren't as invested in this relationship as you should be? Pick up the phone, write a letter, send a text, send a damn telegram or something. But this ain't it. Now, this nigga, Sydney, who is not Monique's son's dad, he's not his dad, gonna speak up, this entire video, gonna speak up, talking about, we gave you half the down payment for your car. That car you driving around is because of Monique. We gave you stuff you needed for the newborn. Sydney gonna say, you're leaving all that out. But in my opinion, Shalon did not leave any of that out. In his initial video, responding to this shit, the Shay Shay interview, he essentially said, y'all throwing coin at me, y'all throwing things at me, expecting that to make up for decades of neglect and avoiding of accountability. Y'all are sitting up there looking, to me, the both of y'all are sitting up there looking like two airheads, literally proving his point. He literally said, what has she shown me that's not money? That's gonna get me back over there, girl. And y'all talk about, oh, well, we did this for you. You ungrateful bitch. Essentially, you're ungrateful nigga coming up here talking about your experience. How dare you, bitch, when we toss some fucking coins at your ass. It's just like, and so when y'all get the business transaction treatment, you parents, when you get older, you wonder why the fuck is happening when this is the foundation that you set up. And so now you tossing coin and not even that's working. Instead of just taking accountability, admitting that shit, and once you admit that shit, you work consistently to make it better for as many years as you work to fuck it up. 2 decades, 3 decades, as consistently. And that's why when she was in the Shay Shay interview talking about, oh, well, we'll see how it plays out. That's not a parent. When we talk about like a parent reaching out to their kid, for as many years as you fucked that shit up, for as many decades as you fucked that shit up, you should be in atonement. You should be in atonement for as many decades as you let that kid suffer, as that kid suffered at the hands of your neglect, your self-admitted neglect, as many years, however long it takes to make atonement. You hear what I'm saying? To make amends. You are the parent. You repair that shit. Okay? So Sydney asked, and I still don't know why the fuck he talking. Sydney gonna say, you spoke ill of your mother, you spoke ill of your father, yet all three of us, he's speaking of himself, Shalon's dad, and of course Monique, he's saying all three of us have a loving relationship. So it's interesting here because he used the word speaking ill, right? Speaking ill. Now, does speaking ill mean that Shalon demanded respect? Does speaking ill to y'all mean that he's not accepting bullshit? Does speaking ill to y'all mean that he's demanding accountability from y'all? Is that what speaking ill means? Because a lot of older people in our community seem to think that when you tell them the truth or when you tell them the kinds of disrespect, the bullshit that you won't be tolerating, they think that shit is speaking ill or being mean or disrespectful. And it's just like, no, y'all get ready to drag the shit out of us when you sense an inkling of disrespect, bitch. I'm setting my boundary, babes, and if you think that's disrespect, then you're gonna have to kiss my ass. Now, Monique, why is Sydney doing most of the talking when this is your son? You sitting there like a mannequin while Sydney trying to read your son down, girl. That shit is embarrassing. Sydney talking about believe half of what you see and none of what you hear, of course implying that, Monique's son is lying, he's being over the top, he's being too sensitive, exaggerating, believe half of what you see and none of what you hear. And in my opinion, the people who keep saying, oh, well, we have to look at this situation from two sides. We have to look at it from Monique's side, the parent side, like the kid, Shalom might just be doing too much. The people who say that, when it comes to a neglected child and a parent who admitted that they were not a great mother and that they were neglectful, are the kinds of people who have estranged relationship with their kids themselves. You are the parent. If your kid doesn't want to be around you, it's definitely your fault. 99.9% of the time, it's your fault. Cause who the fuck comes into this world and look into their fucking parents' face and be like, oh well, I can't wait to be estranged. No kid does that, bitch. If the relationship is fucked up, it's most likely your fucking fault. Especially when y'all admit shit and y'all don't want to apologize. Y'all admit shit and be like, oh well, you want something to eat? What you want to eat? No, apologize like an adult. Apologize. And then after you do that, work to make it so that the relationship never looks like this again. And people really don't, especially people who don't have these kinds of parents, they don't understand. It's just like, y'all keep talking about, especially the ones, like I said, who have no idea what this feels like. They will talk about, oh, well, that's your mom, that's your dad, you need to go and make a mess. It's just like, girl, why would I re-enter the minefield? Why would I re-enter the minefield? Why would I re-enter the lion's den unless I know the lions ain't in there no more? And bitch, that's what I'm saying. When it comes to accountability, when it comes to repairing the relationship, it's the parent's job, especially when, in order to re-engage with y'all, the kids have to really tackle this reality where it's like this potential reality where they could be traumatized again in the same way if you bitches have not changed as parents. So y'all gotta get your shit together. You admitted that you weren't a great parent, so why are you mad at him for saying it? If you want him to stop saying it, then be a better goddamn parent. Y'all seem more worried about the public reception than the actual relationship. Monique seems to be doing the same thing to her son that Oprah and Tyler did to her ass. You had a legitimate concern, a legitimate issue, Monique, and instead of taking accountability, Tyler Perry and Oprah tried to act like you were crazy. They blackballed you, silenced you, they told you that you should be grateful for what your ass getting, the little shit your ass getting. You know what I mean? Your son had a legitimate concern, a legitimate issue, and instead of taking accountability, you and your daddy, you and your husband, tried to get up there on social media, act like he was crazy, tried to silence him, and tried to tell him that he should be grateful for the little shit that he's getting. Do you see that? Do you see the parallels there? Do you see that? So it's just like, just how you are right for calling out Tyler Perry, Oprah, all these powers that be, for not taking accountability. Girl, we looking at this situation with your son and it's just like, mama, mama, okay? Now, he did respond to their response again, but we won't go through everything because, you know, what he said essentially was, it's just what we're saying now, right? In the other response, he said that, you know, they got up there ironically validating what he had said. He said, I said my mom was going to either, you know, get some newfound moment of clarity, right? Some aha moment that's BS, or she'll retreat back to daddy. And that's exactly what happened. He said, y'all didn't respond to what I said, and it defeats the purpose of a response video. Y'all made a new video instead of responding to the shit I said. And he said, the two of you can sometimes come across as seekers of weak levels of empathy while also sidestepping accountability. He went in, right? Went in completely. So, I don't know. I always find these parent talks and stuff so interesting because sometimes when a child comes out here saying, okay, well, you were a shitty parent to me, babes. A lot of other people fall into formation and they be the shitty parents themselves. Like I said, it'd be the parents with shitty, you know, surface level ass relationship with their own fucking kids. They be falling right in formation trying to silence that shit instead of trying to break these generational cycles of trauma, right, that happen, and acknowledging the shit and moving forward, making amends in a meaningful way and changing behavior. Instead of that, y'all want to silence these people. I'm just like, girl, I don't know what you expect. And were you silent or were you silenced? That's what Oprah has said to you, And that's what Monique, you saying to your son, girl. That's crazy. But yeah, that's it, y'all. Let me know what you think of this whole situation. It has been quite the saga, right? It has been quite the journey. Thank you so much for watching. Don't forget to check out my description box for all the extra good stuff. Love you so much, and make sure that you have a good goddamn evening.
Dragging bitches, so they tryna ban drag. Ain't it sad that